The story will be told from the perspective of the main female character.
The man at the door didn't even move his face. He looked me up and down, pointed his finger toward the back door, and told me, "Workers use that entrance." That was the greeting I got for the party celebrating my sister getting engaged. I probably should have told him he was wrong. I should have explained that I wasn't there to carry food trays or fill up people's drinks. But I just kept walking and let the shame sink in, like how a cold breeze feels on your skin when you aren't wearing enough clothes. The truth was that the fancy family my sister wanted to please so much had no idea who I really was. And when they finally found out, that was when the actual fun was going to start. My sister phoned me 14 days before the big night. She used that same voice she uses when she tells me to wear the right clothes for our family pictures. She talked really fast, like she was scared I might try to stop her from finishing her lines. She mentioned the event was going to be very classy and important. She said it would be full of winners who understood what success meant. She told me, "Try just this one time to look like you are a member of this family instead of a person who just ended up in our photos by mistake." She didn't try to be mean when she said it. That was the worst part of the whole thing. She actually thought she was doing me a favor so I wouldn't feel bad later. I told her I would show up. She didn't have any more questions for me. She never does. As far back as I can remember, my sister has always cared about how things look more than how things actually are. When we were growing up, she would fix the position of a picture frame on the wall before she would give anyone a hug. Hello. She was the person who made us all wear matching outfits every single Christmas. She was the one who memorized the names of every rich family at our school. She learned how to talk like she had a lot of money before she even understood what it cost to live that way. My mom and dad never told her to stop doing those things. If anything, they told her to keep doing it. To them, she was the child who was going to have a great and shiny life. I was just the one they hoped would figure out my own path eventually. They didn't even ask where I moved to when I left our town 4 years ago. They didn't wonder why I was suddenly much busier or harder to reach. They just figured I was working on some weird internet project. They thought it was one of those shaky jobs they could never explain to their own neighbors. I let them believe that because it made everything a lot easier. I walked through the hotel kitchen that evening wearing denim pants and a used hoodie. I moved around the cooks and the waiters like I was supposed to be there. Not one person asked me what I was doing. Nobody stopped me. A guy from the banquet crew even gave me a pile of folded cloth napkins because he thought I was part of the staff. I didn't tell him he was wrong. I have always been very good at moving around without being noticed. Meanwhile, up on the main floor, my sister was likely practicing her fake smile in front of a mirror. She was probably fixing the dress she had been worried about for weeks. She wanted to make sure this party showed everyone she was good enough for the family she was joining. She told me those people came from old money. She said they were the kind of people who owned vacation houses and talked about things like family history and heritage. She didn't say anything about how fast wealth disappears when people don't handle it right. She didn't know that the holes in their perfect image were already getting bigger. I stood there waiting for the back elevator while the kitchen noise was loud behind me. I felt a feeling settle in my chest. I had a sense that tonight was going to ruin more than just a party. The shiny world my sister wanted so much was about to hit a truth that none of them were ready for, and I already knew which way that crash was going to send every one of us. The elevator doors slid open on the party level, and the noise hit me right away. It wasn't the sound of music or people having a good time. It was a thick feeling of stress pulled tight like a wire that was about to snap. My sister was right in the middle of all of it. She was giving orders to the workers in a voice that sounded both scared and bossy. She was fixing the same table decoration for the 4th time. She snapped at anyone who got too close because she was trying to force the room to look like the dream in her head. I stayed back near the food station so she wouldn't see me. She pointed at the tablecloths and yelled, These have lines in them. They didn't have lines earlier. Why they have lines now? A waiter told her he was sorry, even though the cloths were actually perfectly flat. My sister didn't notice me. Maybe she just didn't want to see me there. The family of the man she was marrying stood nearby. They looked very sure of themselves, like people who believe the world is supposed to work for them. His mother looked at the flower arches with her eyes half shut. She touched the petals like she was checking if fruit at the store was fresh. His father stood behind her, acting like he was interested while he kept looking at his watch. His younger brother was leaning on the bar, looking around the room to see who was giving him attention. I tried to walk by without making noise, but the younger brother saw me. He walked closer with that smile guys use when they think they are handsome. "Are you working tonight?" he asked. His eyes looked down at my old sweatshirt. Before I could say a word, he pulled some money out of his pocket and folded it. He did it in a mean way. "If you aren't too busy later, you can bring a drink up to my room." I didn't take the cash. I didn't fall for his trick. I just turned my back on him. He whispered behind me, "These girls who work here are so touchy." It felt like someone pushed a finger into a sore spot on my arm. Inside the kitchen, things were falling apart. The main cook was walking in circles, talking to himself about changes made at the last minute. 2 hours before this, my sister had asked for a whole different food list. Then she changed her mind, and then she changed it again. The workers weren't even mad anymore. They just looked like they had given up. One of the servers let out a long breath and said, "If she tells me to take this back one more time, I am quitting." Another person whispered, "The groom's mother already complained that the bubbles in the wine weren't the right color of gold." I stayed there cleaning shrimp. My hands moved on their own while I heard voices coming through the swinging doors. "Did you hear what a dishwasher said?" someone asked. The mother of the groom tried to pay one of the sound guys to fix something in the audio later. To fix it how? Like make someone look bad. My stomach felt tight. I didn't have to guess who they wanted to hurt. The room got noisy again when a manager ran in looking very pale. "The $95,000 payment didn't go through," he whispered to the cook. "It was sent back this afternoon." The cook dropped his metal spoon on the counter. "What do you mean it didn't go through?" "I mean there is no money in the account." That news moved through the kitchen like a cold wave. I felt the air leave my chest. I wasn't shocked. I just felt like I was right all along. All the things I noticed earlier started to fit together like a puzzle. The guard at the door, my sister being so worried, the fake confidence of the groom's parents, the bribes, and the stress that felt like a balloon about to pop. This wasn't a real party. It was just a show. And the people on the stage couldn't pay for the building. I washed my hands, took off my apron, and walked away from the food table. Nobody saw me go. Nobody tried to stop me. I went to the elevator that goes to the top floor where the bosses work. It was a private area that the people downstairs didn't even know was there. When the doors shut, I saw one last look of my sister spinning around, trying so hard to manage everything, but she couldn't manage what was coming next. "That is enough," I said to myself as the elevator went up. It was time for the truth to start its shift. The top floor was very quiet, not like the noisy ballroom. The rugs were thick so you couldn't hear anything, and the hallway smelled like lemon cleaner instead of panic. When I got out, everything felt different. Downstairs, I was a ghost. Up here, I was the person who decided if the world below even stayed open. I put my finger on the sensor, and the office door opened with a click. The room looked exactly the same as it did that morning. It had simple lines, gray chairs, and big windows that looked out over the whole city. It was a place for thinking clearly, not for mess. I walked over to the wall of screens. I tapped a few buttons, and every camera in the hotel started to show me the truth. The executive floor was very quiet, not like the noisy room downstairs. The carpets were thick and soaked up all the sound. The hallway smelled like lemon cleaner instead of stress. When I got off the elevator, the feeling changed immediately. Downstairs, I was a person no one noticed. Up here, I was the person who decided if the world below even existed. I put my finger on the sensor, and the office door opened with a click. The room looked the same as it did this morning. It had simple lines, gray furniture, and windows from the floor to the ceiling that looked over the city. It was a place for thinking clearly, not for a mess. I walked to the wall of screens. I tapped a few buttons and every camera in the hotel showed me what was happening. I saw the ballroom doors, the kitchen, the sound booth, and the back halls. I rewound the video from the ballroom until I found the right spot. There she was. The mother of the groom was standing close to a worker near the sound station. She slid something into his hand. It was $1,500 in cash. He nodded quickly and looked around like a guilty child. She pointed at the microphone and then at my sister, who was fixing flowers again. The worker put the money in his pocket and plugged a small device into the control board. It was sabotage. It was sabotage. It was planned and practiced. To fix it how? Like make someone look bad, I felt my heart beat slower. It didn't speed up. It slowed down the way it does when anger turns into a sharp plan. I switched to another screen that showed the event bills. A note flashed on the screen. It said the payment was returned because there was not enough money. The ballroom was decorated in gold, but the truth was written in one line of text. Then another file blinked. It was a report from earlier today. I opened it. There were unpaid bills, mortgages on top of mortgages, and lots of debt. Their old money was just borrowed time and fake pride. Their big house on the other coast was almost gone. The bank was one letter away from taking everything. I leaned back and breathed out. My sister did not know this. She was chasing a dream, but she was blind to the holes in it. She didn't see that they looked at her like a life raft to save them from drowning. I didn't blame her, but I wasn't going to let her drown in their debt. I called the security team and kept my voice even. I told them to save the video from the sound booth. Then I called the general manager. I told him to wait for my signal before talking about the $95,000 bill that bounced. Everything would be handled the right way. This wasn't revenge for being treated badly at the door. This was a correction. It was time for the truth to show up. Before going back down, I stood at the window. The ballroom lights looked like a shiny lie. They still thought I was a server. They thought I didn't belong. They had no idea the ground had already moved under them. The elevator doors opened on the ballroom level and the heat hit me. Everything was noise and movement. Guests held drinks like trophies. The laughter sounded fake. No one saw me step out. I was still a ghost in the clothes they gave me. Perfect. I walked slowly with an empty tray to keep the act going. The younger brother of the groom was still at the bar. When he saw me, he grinned and moved his lips in a gross way. If he only knew. My sister was in the middle of the room. She was fixing the flower arches like perfection could save the night. She looked worried and hopeful. She kept looking at the mother of the groom to see what she thought. That woman stood tall with her chin up like a blade. She looked around like she was checking a house she wanted to buy. She didn't see the cracks under her feet. She didn't notice the worker she bribed was acting nervous near the sound booth. Her plan was about to start, but mine was already moving. The ballroom doors opened. The general manager walked in. He held a folder with both hands like it had bad news inside. He looked at the crowd and then his eyes locked on me. My sister waved for him to come over. She stepped forward to hear his update. But the manager walked right past her. He only looked at me. "Casey," he said loudly. People at the tables gasped. I let the quiet stay for a moment. Then I folded the apron, put it on the bar, and stood up straight in my sweatshirt. Suddenly, the room saw me. Not fully, but they felt something change. "Yes," I answered calmly. "I'm listening." He opened the folder. The event payment was returned. Insufficient funds for the $95,000. We need direction on how to proceed. I let the quiet stay in the room for a moment. Then I took off my apron, put it on top of the bar, and pulled my sweatshirt straight. In an instant, everyone was looking at me. They didn't understand it all yet, but they could feel that things had changed. "Yes," I said in a steady voice. "I am listening." The manager opened the folder in his hands. The payment for this event was sent back. It was for $95,000. There were insufficient funds. "We need to know what you want us to do now." The ballroom went completely still. It wasn't just quiet. It felt like everyone stopped breathing at the same time. The mother of the groom looked like someone had just slapped her across the face. The father of the groom stared at the floor. The younger brother suddenly stood up straight. My sister stopped in the middle of a step, and her face was full of confusion. I reached into my pocket and grabbed my phone. I linked it to the big screens in the ballroom. The monitors blinked and then showed the security videos. It showed shots from the hallway, the bar, and the area where the sound was controlled. Then the picture got bigger on one spot. It showed the mother of the groom leaning in and putting $1,500 into a worker's hand. She was pointing at the microphone stand. The video showed the worker putting a small tool into the sound board. You could see her lips moving as she gave him orders. The people in the room reacted like a wave hitting the sand. First, there was a low sound, then everyone was talking over each other, and then it went totally silent. My sister made a small noise that sounded like she was shocked and hurt. The groom looked at his mother, and his eyes were wide with horror. "What did you do?" he asked her. She did not say anything back. I didn't stop there. "There is more," I said. I tapped the screen again. Public records filled up the big monitors. There were mortgages on top of other mortgages, late bills, and warnings from banks. There was even a notice saying the bank was taking their house. "These people are not the wealthy family they claim to be," I said quietly. "They plan to use this wedding and my sister to fix their own money problems." The guests started whispering. They were shocked, and some seemed happy to see the drama. The groom stepped away from his parents like he just realized he was standing on the edge of a cliff. My sister looked at the screens and she was shaking. "You knew about this," she said to me. "I made sure it was true tonight," I told her. But the signs were easy to see. The mother of the groom finally broke. "This is an invasion of privacy. How dare you?" she yelled. "These are public records," I said back. "Anyone can find them." Before she could speak again, I tapped the last video. It showed her going through my sister's purse. The room gasped. People started whispering more. My sister looked like she was going to fall over. "Why would you go through my things?" she asked. The mother of the groom didn't answer. Her lips were stuck in a thin line. That was when I walked into the middle of the ballroom. "This night should not have been about how things look," I said. "But tonight it became about something worse. It became about lies and tricks." I looked right at the mother of the groom. "You tried to ruin someone else's name just to protect your own. You tried to use my sister, and you tried to mess with an event in a building that you didn't know belongs to me." The mother of the groom froze. My sister blinked and tried to understand. "You own this place?" she asked. I nodded and told her I owned the whole chain. A look of shock moved across her face slowly. She felt surprised, confused, and guilty. "Why didn't you tell me?" she asked. "I tried," I said in a soft voice. "But you were too worried about what I was wearing to hear about what I have done with my life." Her chin started to shake. The groom turned toward me. "I swear I didn't know they were doing this. If I had—" "This isn't about you choosing sides," I interrupted. "This is about choosing truth." I looked at the mother of the groom again. "Because of what you did tonight, you have two choices," I said, and she got very stiff. "One, you leave right now without a word, and I will pay for the whole party as a gift for my sister. Two, I report the sabotage, the fraud, and the bad check to the police." Her husband grabbed her arm. "Let's go," he said. She didn't fight him. She walked toward the door, and you could hear her shoes hitting the floor as she left in defeat. The younger brother ran out after them. The groom stayed behind. He turned to my sister and had tears in his eyes. "I don't care about the money, I care about you. I want to build a life with you on our own terms, not theirs," he told her. My sister started to cry and held on to him. Then she turned back to me. "I am so sorry for everything. For not seeing you, for not listening, for letting my insecurity turn you into something smaller in my mind," she said. I walked over and pulled her into my arms. She cried even harder. "You are not small," I whispered. "You just forgot who you were. Tonight was a reminder." Behind us, the guests started talking again. The band played some quiet music. A few workers gave me a nod to say thanks. The room felt different now. The party had turned into a lesson. My sister looked up at me. "What happens now?" she asked. "Now," I said, "you choose a future built on honesty instead of image." The groom took her hand. "I want that too," he said. I told them they should start from the ground up together. As they stood there being real and humble, I felt a weight leave me. This was not about revenge. It was about clarity. The room got empty fast after that. The groom's parents left and didn't look back. They left their fake image behind. The workers moved around and felt better, like someone finally let fresh air into a stuffy room. My sister and her fiancé stayed with me. They didn't look fancy anymore. They were just two people standing in the middle of a night that almost broke them. In that moment, something real finally showed up. The next morning, my sister came to the hotel in plain clothes. She asked where she should start working. I pointed her toward the housekeeping department. She didn't say no. She wanted to understand the people she had spoken over and ignored. The groom went to work with the accounting team. He wanted to face the numbers his family always ran away from. Weeks went by. They moved into a small apartment and paid their own rent. They learned how to shop with coupons and laughed when they burned their dinner. I watched them become better people. The groom's family lost their big house on the other coast to foreclosure. They moved away to live a quiet life. Justice was not loud. It happened quietly, which is how the truth likes to work. 1 year later, my sister got married in the hotel garden. There were no big lights or fake shows. There was just sun, a few friends, and a promise that was real. She walked through the service entrance on purpose that day. She was smiling because she finally knew where her real life started. I stood in the back and watched her step into a future she picked for herself. For the first time in a long time, everything felt right.